Now to the so-called Great Resignation, and we've heard so many stories about all the Americans who quit their jobs over the course of the pandemic, but now we're learning that many of them wish they'd never left. A new study by USA Today surveyed 2,000 workers. Of that group, 1 in 5 said they regret quitting their jobs in the past 2 years, and around the same number of workers expressed remorse about their new job. In fact, just 26% of those who switched jobs say they like their new position enough to stay. A third of those surveyed say they're already searching for a new job with better working conditions or better pay. Kathryn Minshew is CEO of the Muse. That's a website that helps you find and build your career. She joins us now. So, wow, we've come full circle, right? We did so many of these stories during the Great Resignation, but was it just too good to last?
Well, I think that the pandemic caused a lot of people to rethink their priorities. It created a wake-up moment for so many folks that I think caused the first wave of the Great Resignation. Unfortunately, what we're seeing now is those first jobs that a lot of people landed at are not necessarily the right match for the long term. And that's going to continue to, I think, cause a lot of turmoil in the next several months.
Is there a generational factor at play? Like, a lot of older workers look at these younger employees and they say, they just don't want to work and they're too entitled to listen to their bosses. Is there any truth to that?
I think every generation tends to look at those younger and see things that they find frustrating, they find surprising. But that said, there are some really interesting generational differences at play. One of those is we used to have an expectation in the workforce that when people started a new job, they would stick it out for 2-3 years at a minimum. And that has absolutely changed. We did a survey recently on the Muse, which serves primarily Gen Z and millennial job seekers, and 80% of them said that they would leave a job in under 6 months if it didn't meet expectations. And that's a big change.
Right. I read that too. So what gives them the confidence, though, to think that they'd just land on their feet in a new job that will give them great pay and great benefits and treat them well?
Well, I do think we're seeing overall increases in worker pay, in benefits, as the competition for talent is fierce. There have never actually been more open jobs kind of related to the number of job seekers than we're seeing right now. So a lot of employers are willing to do almost whatever it takes to bring talent in. And that means that the talent often has the upper hand.
So they do have that leverage. And then a lot of people, right, they quit their corporate job. They didn't want to listen to a boss anymore. They started their own business. But it turns out that keeping a business is harder maybe than starting a business.
It is. It's incredibly hard, especially with, we're still in a very economically volatile environment. And so I think that, some people are going to go into entrepreneurship during this time and find that it really suits them. But a lot of people might realize that it doesn't. And they want to go back into a company, into more of a traditional working environment. I think we should expect that. But it is very interesting to me seeing how, we work with a lot of employers, a lot of hiring managers at the Muse, and many of them are rethinking the rules of the workplace, the benefits they offer, the way they treat their people, in an effort to not only attract younger workers, but also create an environment that they'll want to stay in.
And what else do we know about the people who left and regret it? Like, are they highly skilled? Did they move locations? Are they just generally unhappy working in any job?
There are definitely a few factors at play. First of all, there's a phenomenon that I'm calling shift shock, which is when someone starts a new job and it is not at all as advertised. And we did a survey recently where 72% of people said they had experienced this phenomenon of, showing up. We've probably, a lot of people listening right now have had this happen. You begin a new job, sort of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and suddenly find that there are huge differences from what you were told in the interview process. So I think we're seeing candidates asking more questions and employers also trying to understand, what do I need to communicate to candidates so that if they do join, they're more likely to stay?
And you mentioned this at the beginning, all these lessons that were learned from COVID and being in the pandemic, one of them being that jobs aren't everything. What have we now learned from the Great Resignation with the benefit of hindsight?
Well, I think there's a lesson here that the grass is not necessarily always greener. Again, we're seeing a phenomenon that I call boomerang employees, where some people are realizing that maybe in some ways they did actually have it pretty good where they were before, and they're going back. For others, there's really been a change in the priorities that many job seekers have. There is a rise in the number of individuals and employees who are looking for flexibility, for learning and growth opportunities, looking for employers that will invest in their skill development. And obviously compensation continues to be very important. But I think that employers that only rely on a paycheck are going to find it harder and harder to recruit as compared with employers that are also thinking about their workplace environment, their culture, their benefits package, and again, their learning and growth opportunities for individuals.
All right, Kathryn, thank you so much. It's a really fascinating story. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.